So if you check out videos about new games on YouTube, chances are you've seen the before you buy videos, you know, before you buy in big letters, the thumbnail with the stock photo guy with the head of a video game character. That's not a stock photo, that's me. I get that a lot, that blows people's minds, but at Gameranx, my day job, that's kind of my main job. I make 90% of the before you buy videos, and I always get tons of questions about it, so I figured it was time to like kind of answer some of those frequently asked questions, just how I make these things. Because for 5 years now, I've been making these videos. For me, it's kind of like a career highlight. I look at that body of work. Sometimes in a year, I put out almost 100 or more. I lose track, but I'm really proud of it. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of blood and sweat, and it seems like people find them informative. If you've ever messaged me or tweeted me or DM'd me or commented about just how it's informed your decision buying a game, I legitimately appreciate that. So let me tell you about the origin, where this started. The first before you buy is actually from 2015. I've been doing this for 5 years now. So the first one is for Arkham Knight, and it's bad. It's so shit. Don't even watch it. Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Before You Buy. This is a sort of first impressions type of video. It's quicker than putting out a full review. Essentially though, what the idea was I was still working at Gameranx trying to build up the YouTube channel just as a side job. And Gameranx was kind of like, we need gameplay videos on the channel. We need some sort of let's play type of thing. So that's where I came up with Before You Buy. The concept of it, what I took was that I wanted it to not just completely be a review. The idea was really just to get gameplay out there for people to see right away when the game releases, and just so you can see what's up, you can see what the game is, you can get sort of a gist of how it works or what's involved in it. I kind of took a couple of different things I liked watching and combined it. Number one was Giant Bomb's Quick Look, where they fire up games and they just wow, and they blah, and they play it and react to it. The other thing is Total Biscuit, the WTF is series, where it's a lot of him just kind of going through things in the game, whether it's features, settings, breakdowns of the game's systems, with a dash of something a little bit more old school that I think some of my gamer friends will definitely appreciate. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the process is pretty straightforward. At first, with Arkham Knight, what I tried to do was play the game and record in real time, like me talking about the game as I'm playing. And a lot of things about this game are just really awesome. This is my first time doing a video like this where I just rant about a game, but I'm really bad at that. You guys notice I don't do a lot of live streams yet or anything like that. I'm much better in a quiet room by myself, yapping at a camera. So that was kind of a learning curve for me, but eventually I started going off of bullet points, and then eventually it evolved into at least somewhat scripts. It's one of the only scripted things I really do, but I write out most of my thoughts and then record them. And what I do is binge the game. I play as much as I can in a very limited period of time sometimes, just to get out those first impressions, but also to make sure I'm seeing all of the game's systems, all of the processes, as many endings as possible. And from there I get to work. And what I look for to provide, I have no set rubric or anything. Video game reviews, impressions, previews, talking about games is my passion. It's always been one of my favorite things, but I try not to overthink it or get overly English majory, you know what I mean? It's a video game review or a video game discussion or a video game overview. So I never tried to give myself a specific rubric of, okay, now I must talk about the graphics, now I must talk about the sound, now I must talk about the gameplay. There are reviewers who do that and provide that, and I really, really like that, especially ACG. Shout out to him. I think he does excellent work, consistent work for a very long time now. And I love more than anything searching a new game and sometimes seeing our videos at the top or close to the top. Me, ACG, Skill Up, those types of guys next to heavyweights like IGN and GameSpot. It's nice to see that more independent style creators can still get up on that search algorithm. Yeah, but basically the way I go about it, and this might bore some of you, but it will get interesting, I promise. Essentially, I start with the opening statement of the context. I try and provide a little context of what this game is, when it's releasing, what the current perception sections are, and then ultimately drop a dash of some opinion and some verdict in there so that you don't have to go through the entire video if you don't want to at least get my gist. And then I go through from there by feel, literally. I start talking about the game and hashing out different sections of it the way it makes sense. And again, it goes back to not having the rubric thing. Honestly, if the graphics or some specific aspect of the game doesn't really warrant a lot of discussion, I don't waste your time with it. I just kind of skip it. If it doesn't seem interesting, if there's nothing interesting to say or anything to convince you on it, I don't really try and waste the viewer's time. What I do like to always focus on is gameplay and systems. My favorite thing to do is, I call it like search for the fun. And I don't mean like a game is boring, but you're trying to find fun parts of it. I mean, search for the why. Like, why does this game succeed? Especially if I'm playing a game that, like, I'm not super big on the genre or the franchise. I love jumping in and figuring out why people like it and learning to like it and appreciate it and then trying to put that into words. So now some people will definitely argue that I am more positive on these videos, a little more rosy-cheeked, rose-colored glasses. I don't know, a little more positive, but I will say, yeah, I can't help but look for the good. I will call out things that I don't like or that things that a lot of people call into issue with if it makes sense. But ultimately, I will admit I am trying to look for the fun for a lot of these things. Fun factor is the most important thing, and that's goes back to earlier, one of the things that inspired me. It was Total Biscuit's WTF is, Giant Bomb's Quick Looks, and straight up GamePro magazine and their little review score thing they used to have at the bottom of every review in the old magazine. There was a fun factor rating. I don't know why, but that always just stuck with me. The little animated character, and he'd be, wow, freaking out if the fun factor level score was really high. So I kind of try and go about that. Is the game fun, but also describe how and why. Then if it's interesting in terms of value, I do try and go deeper into trying to describe as much of the systems or as much of the content and like what you're getting for your money spent. I don't really always try to go too deep into hours spent versus dollars spent on a game. I think that's really, really subjective and up to the person, their preference, their wallet, of insane variety of circumstances that every reviewer is completely different and every player is really different. But I do at least try and provide like more of a, hey, this is what you're getting. These are the things that are within the game. These are why they work. These are why I might like some of them. I might not like some of them. And that's it. Now, again, I kind of go by feel. Every single one is just kind of freeform. So even if you're like, but Jake, you didn't do that in this specific one. Yeah, you're probably right, dude, because I just kind of go with the flow with these. I try not to overthink them. I try not to overdo them, but I usually always have a lot of fun with them. They do become grueling when there are a lot of games releasing in a close period of time, but more over the years, I have been able to get a little bit of help here and there, mostly in the capturing department, capturing gameplay and stuff. That really helps, but for the most part, typically, I still capture my own gameplay, I edit my own footage, I cut the voiceover, I put it all together. But there are also certain times of year, or there are certain times I'm just not available, or there's a certain game that I don't really fit with where Falcon will take it on, or maybe Andrew will help write some of the script. That's that other 10%. I said 90% of these are me. But like you'll notice, like when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X launched, like I had some help because there was a lot to cover at once. Now I do want to say that doing the hardware before you buy has been a little bit of a different approach. The way I look at it, and like maybe take this as inspiration, I don't know, or advice. I love hardware reviews. I love Marquez. I love Austin Evans. I love Wired. I love CNET. I love The Verge. I love all of it. But I also try not to just do the same shit as them, because I do have the tendency to kind of go for that style, try and do that presentation, that product shot type of thing. And it's an easy mold to fall into, and we do with our hardware reviews, but I try and every once in a while shake it up. And that's where the process can become more collaborative because that's when like it's more hands on deck. Like that's how we have somebody else shooting the product, having someone else help edit it and put it together. So that's where it's not just me. But we try and also think differently. Like with the Xbox and PlayStation before you buys specifically, we kind of were like, all right, so the Xbox one, we had it early. We had plenty of time with it, and we were like, okay, nobody else is gonna bring it in the woods. So we did that. We brought it outside, which is reckless and stupid. Then, if you remember, for the PlayStation 5, we shot that in front of a DeLorean, my dream car. You've probably seen me tweet about it, talk about it. So we were able to use one in the visual shots just because we can look back and say that was different. We did that console review a little weirder, but we're still working on that. Like that is still more new for us. You know, we have cheap equipment. We do everything kind of on a shoestring because we don't want it to come off like overly produced. You know, some of our stuff is a little fucked up. You know, it's not perfect, but I think that's part of the appeal. It just comes off like real people made it and it's not sterile. Our access level is all over the place though. Some companies send us review copies of games and hardware. Some don't. When they don't, it's not necessarily like because we're blacklisted or anything. It's just like communication dropouts, a business, nothing personal. Seems to happen quite a bit. I actually don't like relying on the companies to send us the game early. As much as it's nice to have that head start, more and more, I just don't like keeping up with the rat race of reaching out and emailing and hi, hello, we would like to access your game for review. They always send them, of course, like no strings attached. There's no obligation. We're not like paid or anything like that. It's just here is a review. Definitely link us if you review it. We want to see it. But more and more, and with certain specific instances lately, we are relying less and less on publisher copies and just kind of going out and buying the game ourselves. Also, it's important. I have kind of learned that like after a while, you can get kind of disconnected from not going out and like plunking down 60, 65, 70 bucks for a game. So it's important that we still do that fairly consistently. Also, there's one thing I did want to acknowledge. Like I do see occasionally the before you buy videos actually get some hate. I see just like conversation online. People are like, "Oh, that's that channel that just spams that video with the stock photo person before you buy." Ugh. I almost get that because the title and the thumbnail before you buy, it comes off as a warning. Like before you buy this game, actually it's broken or insert whatever. That's not the case. And although initially I think we were kind of playing a little gutsy with it. Now over time, what we do, and I've talked to YouTube and they were like, yeah, I don't know, maybe don't do that. But what we found is that the YouTube thumbnail always being the same thing, the same format at least, always says, hey, this is what you're getting. So like if you're a regular viewer or you like those videos, now you recognize it and you come back for the next one and you click on it. And again, there might be analytics studies that show that doesn't work, but it's worked for us. And at the end of the day, if you don't like the flashy title or the flashy thumbnail, if you think before you buy is too attractive or baiting or whatever, the aim always is that once you're in there and you're watching our content, you don't feel like you were misled, you get what you came for, and you're informed and maybe entertained, and that's all you can hope for, man. I think I've covered most of it, although this is something I love talking about, so I would love to eventually do a full breakout video just of the review process and reviewing in general and what I feel about like reviews and the state of the industry and stuff, because I get really feisty, I get really passionate about stuff like that because the discourse around reviews sometimes really sucks ass. But I think I'm going to go. Definitely leave me more questions if you have questions about how I look at games, how I do reviews, how I do first impressions of before you buy videos and stuff like that. Leave them down there so maybe I can get to them in another type of thing. But if you like what I'm doing here, and I'm just talking about stuff I love, I know this is a little bit more talking about my work, which is weird. I'm not used to doing that. But if you still enjoyed this process, clicking the like button does help me. I appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing because, I put out videos once a week or so. I'm not going to spam you or anything like that, but thank you for watching. If you want to check out the before you buy videos I do, they're on Gameranx, but I'm also over here hanging out. I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching. Subscribe because video games.